A 74-year-old man sat across from me in my office. His hands trembled, not from illness, but from something far more common and far more silent. He looked me straight in the eye and said words I'll never forget. I didn't know I was hurting myself. For years, he had been doing what countless men do behind closed doors, never realizing the quiet toll it was taking. And he's not alone. I'm Dr. Mohit Khera, a urologist and men's health specialist. For over 30 years, I've helped older men protect their vitality, intimacy, and dignity. And today I want to share something most doctors don't talk about. After 60, masturbation changes, and if you don't adapt, it can affect more than just your body. It can touch your mind, your confidence, and even your manhood. We've been told it's harmless, even healthy. And often that's true. But how you do it matters more than most men realize. In this video, I'm going to reveal 5 critical masturbation truths every older man deserves to know. These insights can help protect your circulation, support your prostate, and even reignite your self-respect. And stick with me until the end, because the final truth could change the way you age, connect, and live for years to come. Before we begin, if you haven't subscribed yet, now's a good time to hit that button and tap the bell, so you never miss another honest, age-specific health tip made just for men like you. And if this topic speaks to you, type 1 in the comments to let me know you're here. If not, type 0 point. Your feedback helps me create the content that serves you best. Let's begin. Secret number 1. Your erection is no longer the whole story. And that's okay. I remember a 72-year-old patient who looked at me, frustrated and ashamed, and asked, "Doc, I can't do what I used to. Does that mean I'm not a man anymore?" That question breaks my heart because I hear it far too often. Many older men walk into my office worried, even panicked over changes they were never prepared for. Erections aren't as firm, response times are slower, and so many assume it's the end of their sexuality. But here's the truth I wish every man over 60 knew. Your erection is not your identity. It's not the full picture. And losing part of it doesn't mean you've lost your manhood. This isn't failure, this is evolution. As we age, our bodies shift. Blood flow slows, hormones fluctuate, nerves don't respond quite as fast. What once seemed automatic now requires attention and patience. But this doesn't mean your sexuality is broken. In fact, it can become even more meaningful once you stop measuring it by one narrow definition. You grew up in a world that equated masculinity with performance. That praised stamina, not sensitivity, and likely no one ever told you. Pleasure still matters, connection still matters. And you don't need a perfect erection to feel either. I've seen men who spent years thinking they were defective, when all they really needed was a new understanding of how their body was evolving. Many never realized orgasm and erection are not the same. You can still experience powerful release, emotional intimacy, and satisfying pleasure, even if your body doesn't respond the way it used to. You haven't lost anything. You've simply changed. What matters now isn't performance, it's presence. Not pressure, but permission. When you stop chasing what was and start embracing what is, you open the door to a new kind of intimacy. One rooted in patience, curiosity, and deep self-respect. That's why this first secret is so important. Because I've seen lives change when men finally understand. You are still whole, still worthy, still capable of pleasure, no matter how your body has changed. Now let's go even deeper, into a truth almost no one talks about. Secret number 2. Masturbation isn't just physical, it's emotional and neurological. Not long ago, I sat with a retired veteran in his late 70s. His name was Howard. He came in during a medical emergency, but not the kind most people think of. In his words, "I just don't feel anything anymore." Not just sexually, but in life. At first, we thought the issue was purely physical. But the more we talked, the clearer it became. His struggle wasn't about desire, it was about something much deeper, quieter, more emotional. He'd been masturbating almost every night. But not out of lust. It had become a way to cope, a ritual to manage sadness, a tool to help him sleep, a silent balm for the loneliness he couldn't admit out loud. and he didn't even realize it. That moment changed how I saw him and how he saw himself, and it uncovered a truth I wish more older men knew. In your 60s and beyond, masturbation is no longer just physical. It's emotional, it's neurological, it's deeply human. After orgasm, your body releases chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, molecules that regulate sleep, reduce anxiety, and elevate mood. For many older men, especially those living alone, this private act becomes a way to reclaim calm, to feel connected, to feel in control. But when it's done mindlessly, without understanding or intention, it can slowly turn into something hollow. That's what happened to Howard. The ritual remained, but the meaning vanished. See, most of us were raised to be strong, to suppress our emotions, to believe that feeling deeply made us weak. So when the only time we truly let go is during a private moment of self-touch, that act becomes more than just release, it becomes survival. Yet so few men see it this way. They think they're just holding on to a youthful habit, when in truth their bodies are still reaching for peace, not just pleasure. The danger isn't in the act itself, it's in doing it unconsciously. If you're masturbating just to kill time, distract yourself, or avoid naming a feeling, over time you may lose touch with the deeper connection your body is still craving. But when you approach it with presence and awareness, something shifts. It becomes healing, grounding, a quiet act of emotional clarity and neurological care. And yes, even at your age, that matters, more than ever. Now, if that truth surprised you, what comes next might be even more urgent. Because what if I told you that not touching yourself at all, letting that part of you go completely quiet, might be doing more harm than good? This next truth may explain changes in your body that no one ever warned you about. Secret 3, use it or lose it, is real, but misunderstood. I remember Roy clearly. He was 74, a widower, and after more than a decade alone, he had just started dating again. But instead of excitement, what he brought into my office was shame. "I finally found someone," he said, "but my body, it doesn't work anymore." You could hear the heartbreak in his voice. He thought something was broken. He thought it was too late. But what Roy and so many men don't realize is this. It wasn't dysfunction. It was disuse. Your sexual function isn't just about age. It's about activity. Just like muscles weaken without movement, the tissues and blood vessels in your penis respond to how often they're used. When there's no stimulation, no arousal, no touch, those tissues slowly begin to atrophy. Nerve endings dull, elasticity fades, blood flow diminishes, and you won't notice until it's already happening. Roy hadn't touched himself in years, not because he didn't want to, but because he thought it didn't matter anymore, that it was just part of aging. But inside, his body had been adapting to neglect, quietly shutting down systems that could have stayed open, with just a little attention. The good news? It wasn't too late. With gentle, consistent stimulation, no pressure, no shame, his body began to remember. And as sensation returned, so did something even more powerful, his confidence. Too many men believe that without a partner, their sexual health no longer matters. That belief, not only untrue, it's harmful. Masturbation at this stage of life isn't just about pleasure. It's about keeping your systems active, your circulation flowing, your nervous system engaged, and your body reminded that you still matter. But if disuse can cause quiet damage, what about the other extreme? What if how you're staying sexually active is actually rewiring your brain in the wrong direction? This next secret reveals a habit that's become almost invisible in older men's lives, yet it may be quietly numbing your senses, lowering your desire, and changing the way you experience intimacy. If you're still watching and these truths are resonating, drop a 1 in the comments to let me know you're with me. Let's continue. Secret 4. Porn may be quietly destroying your sexual reflexes. Late one night, I spoke with Ernest, a 68-year-old widower who told me something that broke my heart. "I still touch myself, but I feel disconnected, like nothing really reaches me anymore." At first, he thought it was just aging, but the more we explored, the clearer it became. His nightly ritual of watching porn, something he once turned to for comfort, had quietly rewired his brain. and it had dulled his ability to feel anything in real life. This is a secret many older men wish they had learned decades ago. See, as your brain ages, it becomes less flexible, less adaptable, and when you repeatedly feed it high-intensity, fast-reward stimulation, like porn, it adapts. At the cost of real connection, porn triggers an unnatural flood of dopamine. Over time, your brain learns to expect and require that level of stimulation, which means real touch, real intimacy. Even the gentle contact of your own hand may begin to feel dull, distant, or unfulfilling. And for older men, the shift is so gradual you may not even notice. Until one day, the screen excites you more than an actual moment of connection. He came to me during a routine visit. Nothing dramatic, just a quiet moment where he looked up and said, "I don't feel anything anymore." Not just sexually, just in general. At first, we thought it was physical, hormones, circulation, maybe age. But as we talked, something deeper came into focus. His late-night habits, what he thought was just a release, weren't driven by desire. They were his coping mechanism, for sadness, for insomnia, for loneliness. He had been using masturbation not for pleasure, but for survival. That moment changed how I saw him, and how he saw himself. This is a truth I wish more older men discovered sooner. Masturbation in your 60s, 70s, and beyond isn't just physical. It's emotional, neurological. It impacts your hormones, your nervous system, your sleep, even your sense of identity. After orgasm, your body releases chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. These regulate mood, ease anxiety, and promote rest. For many older men, especially those living alone, that private act becomes a way to feel human again, to reclaim some calm, to feel some kind of connection, even if it's only to themselves. But here's the danger. When it becomes automatic, when there's no awareness or intention, the meaning fades. The ritual remains, but the relief disappears. That's what happened to Howard. He wasn't weak, he wasn't broken, he was using the only tool he had. But in silence and without understanding, raised to be tough, to keep emotions buried, to believe that expressing vulnerability made you less of a man. So the only time he truly let go was alone, in secret, through self-touch. Not for lust, but for something quieter, the need to feel alive. Secret 1, it's not just about pleasure, it's about peace. But what if the opposite is true too? What if not touching yourself at all is causing harm you don't even realize? Secret 2, the use it or lose it rule is real, just misunderstood. I'll never forget Roy. He was 74, widowed, and had just started dating again after 11 years alone. But instead of excitement, he sat across from me with shame in his eyes. "I finally found someone, but my body doesn't work anymore." He thought it was over. That age had taken everything, but it wasn't dysfunction, it was disuse. No one had told him that his body, like any other system, adapts to what it experiences. And if there's no stimulation, no touch, the tissues in the penis atrophy, blood flow slows, nerve endings dull, elasticity fades. It doesn't happen suddenly. It's a slow, quiet forgetting. Roy hadn't touched himself in years, not because he didn't want to, but because he believed that part of his life had ended. But it hadn't. And with time, no pressure, just gentle reconnection, his body remembered, his sensitivity returned, and so did a part of his confidence. This is what I want you to hear. Your body hasn't given up on you. It just needs your attention. Secret 3, masturbation is maintenance. It's not about youth, it's about health. But now let's go deeper. Because even if you are staying sexually active, there's one habit that might be numbing you from the inside out. Secret 4, porn might be dulling your senses and your capacity to connect. Ernest was 68, widowed, lonely, and still touching himself regularly. But something felt off. "It's like nothing really reaches me anymore," he said. He wasn't broken, but night after night of watching porn had trained his brain to respond only to high-intensity, fast-reward stimulation. That kind of artificial flood of dopamine rewires your system. And suddenly, real life, the gentle, slow, emotional kind of connection, feels flat. It doesn't happen overnight. But slowly, your imagination dims, your senses go quiet, your desire feels disconnected from your body. Ernest described it like being locked in a room with the lights on, but no windows. He could see, but he couldn't connect. We worked together to step away from the screen, not with shame, but with patience. And within weeks, something incredible happened. He began to feel again, his body responded, his imagination came alive. Not because of a pill, but because he chose to reconnect with his body, his breath, and his inner world. I only wish he had done it sooner. And that brings us to the last and most important truth. Secret 5. Masturbation can be a lifeline, not a liability. Walter was 75, quiet, kind, widowed. At the end of our visit, he paused and asked something I've heard too many times. "Doctor, is it still okay to touch myself at this age?" That question wasn't about permission. It was about shame. He thought that part of him had expired with his youth or with his wife. He hadn't touched himself in 6 years, not because he didn't feel, but because he believed he shouldn't. "I didn't think I was allowed to be that kind of man anymore," he said. But he was. He still is. The truth is, masturbation, done with awareness, isn't just about pleasure. It helps keep pelvic tissues healthy, supports prostate function, boosts mood, improves sleep, keeps you connected to the part of you that still desires, that still feels. Walter wasn't chasing youth, he was reclaiming dignity, and that's what I want for you. Not to hide in silence, not to shrink away, but to remember you are still here, you still matter, and you are still whole. So now that you've heard all 5 truths, here's the final message. Desire doesn't retire, it evolves, it softens, but it never disappears. And when you learn to meet your body where it is, not where it used to be, you rediscover something most men never get the chance to fully embrace. You're still a man, you're still alive, and your story is far from over. If this message spoke to you, leave a comment below. Tell me which of these 5 truths struck home the most. And if you're ready to keep learning, growing, and reclaiming your health with strength and dignity, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. You are not invisible. You are not finished. There is still so much more ahead, if you're willing to reach for it. And if you know a man who needs to hear this, send it to him. You never know how much a single conversation can change a life. Let's break the silence. Let's tell the truth. And let's help each other feel alive again.